Housing is an animal welfare issue. I've talked about this before, but the number one cause of relinquishment is housing. Now, if you pay attention to shelter populations at all right now, you probably have noticed that we're having a bit of a shelter overpopulation crisis. Shelters are kind of bursting at the seams, and it's particularly bad in the usual areas like California and Texas, where I am. Now, in California and Texas in particular, the climate is generally nice year-round, so dogs and cats can live outdoors for years on end, and if they aren't spayed or neutered, will reproduce abundantly. So this contributes to the stray population that's kind of incoming. I know in Dallas alone, the estimation in 2016 was that we had 20 to 30,000 strays. Please feel free to check out the shelters in Dallas. You'll notice there's an overrepresentation of certain breeds: pitties, huskies, and German shepherds. This topic will come up from time to time in pet forums where people are like, why are there so many of these specific breeds in the shelter? And the response is a resounding, it's because those types of people get those types of dogs. And then everybody nods in agreement. What I so rarely see mentioned is pet policies, breed restrictions, and weight limits. For me, that's the first thing that comes to mind because I'm somebody who has lived experience with not being able to find housing because of the pets I had. More than once, I am intimately familiar with how hard it can be to find a place that's in an area that you want, that is within your price range, has all that you need, and allows your pets. The data tells us is there is a not insignificant number of people that want their pets that are giving them up because of housing. We also know that pet fees, deposits, and rents are always applied disproportionately. If you happen to be middle income, and then you're likely not going to be paying as many fees. And let's ignore that we have been evolving with dogs for like a millennia together, us and dogs. Well before we domesticated any other animals, it was humans and dogs. And now we're trying to tell people that they can't do this. Like, it's in our DNA, okay? We have tens of millions of dogs, stray dogs in this country. We have 3.1 million being euthanized every year. Adoptable, by the way. What we need to be very careful of is delving into a very subjective standard of what pet ownership is supposed to look like, and instead meeting people who want that relationship and care about their pet where they are. And a big part of that is going to come from protecting housing. Now, here's another fallout from the housing crisis that I'm not sure that the animal welfare industry has considered. The crisis, there's a lot of calls for adopters and calls for fosters, which is great. We love our adopters and we love our fosters, but you know what? Most of your fosters are going to be homeowners. Now, we've got roughly 90 million or 70% of Americans are pet owners, and about 7 to 8% of that foster. My guess is that it's less than 1% of that 7% that are renters. So as long as the housing crisis persists, we're going to continue to struggle. I've been houseless and housing insecure for pretty much all of my life. It didn't really dawn on me until the last few years or so how much of an effect this had on me. Because I've been in the house that I live in now for a few years, and it's the first time I've had stable housing since I was like a kid. And it wasn't until like roughly 6 or so months ago that I started having these really vivid dreams about one of my first dogs, Patty. And the theme is always the same, that Patty is somewhere and I just have to go get her. And why haven't I gone and got her? I love her. I miss her so much. I just cannot wait to see her. Why have I left her there so long? Now, Patty passed away in 2016, but I spent all 16 years of her life housing insecure. And it was the only thing, my single goal was to find some stable housing for me and my girls. And I guess it haunts me so much that I dream about it now that I have it. I'm like, now that I've achieved the goal, but she didn't survive to see the day. Again, we have tens of millions of pets that are in need in this country, and we should support people to be successful in the way that best works for them with the pets that they want. We need tenant protections. We need federal funding for public housing and make sure that that housing is pet inclusive. We need to repeal the Faircloth Amendment. If you want to see pictures of what they're developing in Vienna, I'm happy to show you. It's amazing. The animal welfare industry, it's time to get on the housing train.